Hey everyone, it's Anthony Allen Ramos. Okay, so you'll remember earlier this year, Amy Schneider became the 40-win Jeopardy champion, the first trans champion that we were so excited to see. And now, flash forward, here we are. Mattea Roach is winning every single night. She is on a major winning streak, and I am so excited to be chatting with Mattea right now. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
So congratulations. So many wins in a row. I gotta say, it's such a moment for queer people right now in Jeopardy.
Yeah, it's wild, honestly. I feel so lucky that I was able to watch Amy's games actually right up until the point that I started taping mine. Her final game aired the day before I recorded my first four shows. And so it's been such an honor and a pleasure to be part of what has been an incredible legacy of queer and trans champions, and also just like queer and trans contestants that have been really like showing up on the show and bringing a lot of flavor, I think, and been really fun for me to watch as a viewer.
I love it. I mean, it's so great. So then you didn't ever get to cross paths. You have not met Amy Schneider yet, have you?
No, but I will cross paths with her in the Tournament of Champions. I'm really looking forward to it.
I mean, let's get right to that. I mean, we'll talk more about the other stuff, but I was thinking, I was like, there could literally be a world where we have the two of you, I'll say, competing alongside of each other in the Tournament of Champions. Have you wrapped your head around that yet?
I've been thinking about it a lot. And I mean, I think I even said while I was at the show, like Amy and, Matt Amodio as well, like straight man, we love him, but like they were such dominant players during their streak. So I don't expect that I'm necessarily going to go into the Tournament of Champions and be the most competitive player there. But I think it would just be such a huge honor, especially, you know, with Amy having been like a real inspiration to me during the period where I was preparing to go on the show. I think like even to compete alongside her, even if I get, absolutely the pants beaten off me, like I don't care, because that's what an incredible moment that would be.
We will be tuning in for that. I cannot wait. So stay tuned, everyone, for that. That'll be happening later this year. But now back to this moment that you're in. It's so wonderful. You're winning every night. We're at hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point. Have you wrapped your head around what some of those first purchases are going to be once, if your winning streak ever ends, maybe it'll just keep going until, the end of time.
I think I'll really feel that it's real when I actually have the check in my hands and have to take it to the bank. But I think in terms of first purchases, like I've always been somebody that's pretty frugal and doesn't love to spend a lot of money. So I definitely have noticed that even not having the money yet, but knowing that it's coming in, I've been a little bit more frivolous going to like the record store and stuff. Like I'm not going to feel guilty about buying things that I might have wanted to buy anyway. But I think really what the money is going to do for me is it's going to set me up to be much more financially secure through my 20s. And I'm thinking that maybe now, like I'll actually be able to perhaps buy property by the time I'm 30. Whereas before that felt like something that was just like an unimaginable dream. I didn't think I was ever going to get there. So that's what it represents for me. It's like I'm sure that I'll also go on vacation at some point and maybe treat myself, but really what it means to me is it's setting myself up to hopefully have a much more secure future.
No, and that's so great. I know, because I always say, and I mean, I don't know how any young person buys a house in this world today, because we all know how expensive it is. So yes, I'm all for you putting a down payment on a house or something. So thinking about, oh my gosh, that's right. When I did my chat with Amy Schneider, she literally had just come back from the bank and had cashed her check.
That I feel like it's going to be a really emotional moment for me. Like, I don't know how she was feeling during that conversation. I was like saying to a friend yesterday, I was out at drinks. I was like, I feel like I'm going to cry when the check comes in the mail. Like, I don't know how I'm going to react.
It'll all be real, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think, there's been a lot of moments where, it feels a little bit unreal, and then something will happen that really it washes over me like, oh, this is actually not a dream. This is really happening to me. I think that my first episode airing was one of those moments, and getting to share the experience that I had with like friends who didn't know how it had went, and in some cases like only learned the previous week that I had even gone to tape the show at all. So like that was definitely one moment where it suddenly felt real. Being recognized out in public definitely makes it real, because I'll just be like out getting my coffee or something around my neighborhood and somebody's like, oh my god, you're that girl from Jeopardy. But I think certainly when eventually my last episode airs, because every winning streak has to come to an end at some point, and when I finally have my winnings, like that's definitely going to be a moment of like, wow, really did, I did that.
No, and it's so, I mean, that's going to be super exciting. And you're so young. I think you're 23, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be a big check to get at 23 years old. So congrats. What I love so much about, with the work that we do at GLAAD with, representation, and because we know how important it is for representation. And I think with Jeopardy specifically, and like with this moment with Amy, and then for you, I think there's such an opportunity for a wider audience who maybe think they know that this is what, a gay person is, or this is what, a trans person is. And then just to see, them like you in their house every night and just like, I think there's such an opportunity, to kind of change hearts and minds and maybe expand on acceptance and all of that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think one thing that's nice about a show like Jeopardy is that it literally is just regular people that are not television characters or, television stars that are on reality TV, say. So it's not people that are used to performing a certain way for a camera, that they're not, written to fit a certain conception of what a queer person is like, what a trans person's like. And so I didn't go to the show, really with, I don't think anyone goes on Jeopardy. First of all, no one goes on Jeopardy typically thinking they're going to win as many games as I did. Like, I certainly didn't expect that I was going to be in a position where my presence on the show was going to be impactful in that way. And like, I didn't really go on the show to be like, okay, I'm like the capital L lesbian contestant. And so most of my anecdotes on the show really have nothing to do with that. Like, I don't bring it up, and it's something that I just have publicly on my Twitter because I think it's an important part of me that everybody that I know in my real life knows. So like, why should other people not know as well? Yeah, I think, what Jeopardy does, and especially when you have contestants that go on these long runs, is it lets you see different facets of a person's personality. So it's like, okay, this isn't just a queer person or a trans person that fits certain boxes or certain stereotypes of what we might expect, but they also have interests and personality traits that are not necessarily what people who don't know a lot of queer and trans people, or maybe don't know any queer and trans people, like they might not expect, me to have some of the traits or interests that I demonstrate on the show.
No, and that's exactly what it's all about. And that was so well said, because it's all about, visibility, and it's so important. Thinking about that, do you remember your first like time you fell in love with Jeopardy and you were like, you know what, like, because I remember for me, my grandmother and I would always watch it together, and like it was like a whole and I still like watch it every day now. Like, what was that like for you as a kid? Was it early on, or was it more recent?
I would say it was definitely from when I was a kid. Like, when I was young, I really liked watching Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, where I always lived growing up. Like, it's typically aired in a block. And for me, like, Jeopardy was the second show of the 2-show block. And so I think that I would have been passively taking in the show from quite a young age, like probably from when I was, even 2 or 3. In terms of when I like really started following it, I would say in high school, I used to watch it quite a lot. So I have strong memories of like the 2014 college championship. And I remember like Julia Collins going on her run, which was iconic because, of course, for such a long time, until Amy, she was the longest running woman. So like those things really stuck with me. And I was never somebody that like dreamt, oh, when I'm an adult, I want to go on Jeopardy, because it just seemed like such a pie in the sky thing. And there was even a period of time where due to like, I can't remember what it was, but Canadians weren't allowed on for a couple of years due to some like pending legal issues that the team at Jeopardy was like having to work out with the, taxation something. So I just like didn't think that it was ever going to be an opportunity I would have. But it was something that, yeah, when I was a teenager, I definitely thought I could do this someday, probably, if I was given the opportunity. And I was just lucky enough that things fell into a place in such a way that I did get to do it.
I love that. And I think you said that there was something that you were looking forward to doing with your dad at one point. Was it a concert or something?
Yeah, so one of my anecdotes on the show was about my dad and I have been talking for 10 years about going to see Kraftwerk, which is like this German electronic music band. It's not their original lineup anymore, but they do this amazing 3D light show basically along with the music. And so, yeah, I had bought tickets to go to that with my dad in 2020, but then of course, like so many things got canceled around that time that, we weren't able to go. And so, yeah, I have tickets for that at the beginning of June. It's around his birthday. We're still working out logistics because obviously he doesn't live in Toronto, so he would have to actually come up here. But yeah, that's that story.
That's exciting. I love that. I'm trying to think, Amy revealed to me very like nonchalantly, which was hilarious, that she's a tarot card reader. What is a one fun fact about you? Because like that's what you had said. It's so fun to learn all these new things about you every time that we see you on the show. What's a fun fact that we may not know yet?
Oh no, I feel like this is such always a tough question because I feel like all of my fun facts I like have been deploying on the show every day. I guess I don't talk about astrology on the show, which I think I'm just thinking of because of you mentioned Amy reading tarot, and I've wanted to learn for a long time, but just haven't gotten around to it. I would say I'm like moderately into astrology. A lot of people have asked about the earrings that I wear on the show. I'm actually wearing the same ones right now, and they have the astrological symbol for Scorpio on them. I have a scorpion tattoo as well. That's something that like people have noticed that's visible on the show. So I would say, I really don't talk a lot about, you know, the more queer interests I would say that I have on the show, and like tarot and astrology are definitely something that there's like a lot of people in the queer community that are very into it. So yeah, I don't know. I like astrology. What else is interesting? I'm like blanking. I feel like I told all my good stories on TV already.
We'll keep tuning in for more every night that you win. You know, we always talk about that moment, like when you saw something on TV or a movie or read a book or something that really inspired you and helped. I remember for me, like when I saw this one film and I was like, you know what, I think I'm gay. Like I recognize it, I accept myself, and it really was, so helpful. And I think that's why GLAAD, we know it's so important for these stories to be told, not just for coming out, but just for, for people to see themselves represented. Was there any sort of film or book or TV show that was like super impactful for you, in your journey to coming out and self-acceptance?
Yeah, 100%. So I would say the first thing, and this was way before I realized that I was gay, but I remember when I was in middle school, and I like was first kind of going on the internet and like watching videos on YouTube. I was very into Sailor Moon when I was in like grade 6, grade 7, and I was so insistent, and it's so funny in retrospect because obviously like it's so obvious why this was, but I always wanted to find the original Japanese version where Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune are actually girlfriends and not cousins like they made them be in the English dub, because I was just like, it's more authentic. It's like, no, you're a little gay kid who just wants to see like the girls be girlfriends. So that was something definitely when I was a kid that clearly I saw something of myself in that. And then more recently, so for me, like I came out as bi before I eventually came out as a lesbian, which I think is like, bi obviously is not a stepping stone to anything else, but I think that for a lot of lesbians, especially, it can be very difficult, I think, to like reckon with, actually like heteronormativity and the expectation that I'm going to date men is like not something that really aligns with what I see for myself. Mm-hmm. So when I was in my second year of university, a friend had recommended to me that I read Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. And I remember reading that book, and like it was so transformative in terms of like how I saw my life. And even in the plot of that book, Bechdel talks about being around the same age and how she also discovered like her lesbian identity in large part through engaging with literature. So it was kind of like a strange meta moment that reading that book is like also part of what unlocked it for me. So those are like the two big, I would say, media works that influenced me a lot.
I love that. No, and thanks for sharing that. I know I think about those moments too. I think also, like for me, there was like a Madonna music video where she's like rolling around in lingerie, and I was like more interested in like the bullfighter that was featured than her. But we all have those like moments when we're like, wait a second, what's happening here? Last question for you, because it's always a fun one. Is there a queer celebrity or icon that you would just be thrilled to meet or, super starstruck over?
Yeah. Oh my God. Easy question. Elliot Page, because he's from Halifax.
Oh my gosh, that's right. He is.
Yeah. So, and like speaking of, like people that were really impactful for me in my journey, I remember when he like first came out, not as trans, but when he initially came out as queer, that was when I was in high school, and I like had not met a gay person in my life to that point. And I was like, oh my God, they make gay people in Halifax? Like maybe it's okay. Maybe this can be like, something that I can explore. So yeah, that would be probably like my top one just because of the hometown connection.
I love that. Well, you know what? Let's try and get you and Elliot at least on a Zoom or something. You never know what can happen, right?
You never know, honestly. Stranger things have happened. I have like friends that have run into him back in Halifax. My aunt like knows his mother because they were teachers together for years.
That's
but I have
incredible.
just not crossed paths.
I love it. Well, maybe Elliot's going to watch Jeopardy, but who knows? I love that. Mattea, thank you so much for the time and congratulations. And just a reminder, everyone, tune into Jeopardy every night to see, you know, how much more money she's going to win. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, you are on a streak. Congratulations. And we'll talk to you really soon.
All right. Thanks so much. It's been so much fun chatting.